It was a rainy afternoon when Aisha ran into the small cafe near the university. Her clothes were soaked, and her books were dripping wet. As she tried to dry them with tissues, a soft voice behind her said, "Here, use this instead." She turned and saw Brian, the quiet guy from her literature class, holding out a clean, neatly folded handkerchief. She smiled shyly and took it, her fingers brushing against his. "Thank you," she murmured. They talked for hours that day, tucked away in a corner of the cozy cafe. They talked about everything from classic novels and indie films to their wildest dreams for the future. The rain outside pattered relentlessly against the window pane, but inside, a warmth bloomed between them, vibrant and alive. From that day on, the cafe became their spot. Every Friday, without fail, they'd meet by the same window, the world outside fading away as they lost themselves in conversation. But all good things must come to an end, or so it seems. The semester finished, and Aisha had to move to another city for a prestigious internship. On their last Friday together, the air was thick with unspoken goodbyes. Brian handed her a small, sealed envelope. "Don't open it yet," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "Open it the next time it rains." Months drifted by. The internship was demanding, and the new city was lonely. Aisha often thought of Brian and their rainy afternoons. Then, one evening, as she walked home from work, the sky opened up. Rain poured down, drenching the streets in a familiar grey sheet. Suddenly, she remembered Brian's letter. Her heart racing, she rushed to her apartment, pulled the now-worn envelope from a drawer, and carefully tore it open. Inside, a simple note was written in his familiar, neat handwriting. It said, "The rain brought us together once, I hope it will again. I'll be waiting at the cafe." Aisha didn't hesitate. She grabbed her umbrella, her heart pounding with a mixture of hope and fear, and ran out into the storm. A smile spread across her face, brighter than the flashes of lightning that lit up the sky. She was going back. Pushing open the heavy wooden door of the cafe, the small bell above chimed softly, a sound that echoed in her memory. The familiar, comforting scent of coffee and vanilla immediately wrapped around her. She scanned the room, her eyes landing on their corner table by the window. It was empty. A wave of disappointment washed over her, cold and sharp. Her heart sank. Had she been too slow? Maybe he'd gotten tired of waiting, or worse, forgotten their promise. Trying to compose herself, she walked toward the counter to order a coffee, something warm to chase away the sudden chill she felt. "Aisha," she froze. That voice. She turned around slowly, almost afraid of what she'd find. There he was. Brian stood just behind her, holding 2 steaming cups of coffee, his dark hair slightly damp from the rain. His shy, gentle smile was exactly as she remembered it, a beacon of warmth in the dimly lit cafe. "I didn't think you'd come," he confessed, his relief evident in his voice. "I told you," she whispered, her own voice thick with emotion as her eyes began to shine. The rain brought us together once. They settled into their usual spot by the window, watching the raindrops race each other down the glass. The city outside was a blur of motion and sound, but inside their small bubble, time seemed to stand still. They talked for what felt like minutes and hours, catching up on the months they'd been apart, the silence between them as comfortable as their words. Then Brian reached into his jacket pocket. He pulled out a small, gleaming silver key and placed it gently on the table between them. "This is for you," he said, his gaze steady and full of a quiet intensity. "I did it. I finally got the lease for the cafe space we always dreamed about, our own little place. I want us to build it together." Aisha stared at the key, then back at his hopeful face. It felt surreal, like a scene from one of the novels they loved to discuss. Tears welled up in her eyes, but this time they weren't tears of sadness or longing. They were tears of pure, unadulterated joy. The rain continued to fall outside, a steady, soothing rhythm against the glass. But for Aisha and Brian, it was no longer just weather. It was the soundtrack to their story, a promise of a new beginning, a testament to their connection, and a beautiful memory they would cherish forever. Because true love, they discovered, doesn't fade with time or distance. It simply waits for the right moment to fall again, just like the rain. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content that warms the soul. We'll see you in the next video.